a sort of corporate leadership role, and I was responsible for 100 staff at the time when I stepped out. But I'd always had that sort of inkling of, I really would love to set up my own business. I don't feel like I'm using my strengths and,
Right.
you know, the areas that I get energy in to the best capacity. And a situation, I got the opportunity to step out and take redundancy, and that's when I took the leap and haven't looked back.
That's so good, because you kind of created your own niche, and I see you on every platform. So I see you on LinkedIn, and then you changed it again. You're on Instagram.
Yep.
You're also on YouTube.
Yes, that's
Yes.
right, yeah.
So how did you first start when you realised that you were going to come out of corporate and go into doing your own thing? How did you do that transition?
Yeah, well, I sort of had already got some skills that would lend themselves to setting up their own business. So I qualified quite a few years before as a coach, just my personal interest, a bit of my personal development really. I sort of always like to be learning, and that was an opportunity sort of to qualify. And I definitely did use that in corporate. So I was, you know, leading teams of leaders, coaching them and mentoring. But so I knew that I had something to fall back on, which was the coaching. But I think, you know, when I look back to that green person that set up my own business, it's just, you know, so much learning that comes from making mistakes, from testing things out, you know, from thinking that you know what you need to have in place when you start a business, like, oh, I've got to have a website, or I've got to have a lovely looking logo that's nice colours, and, you know, you just don't always think about the things that really matter, the things that, you know, are going to make people want to come and work with you, that differentiate you. And I definitely didn't at the early stage really get into my stride of showing my personality,
Right.
you know, and that's why people come and work with me
Exactly,
now.
because you're quite vibrant. So I remember meeting you at the Beckenham business.
Yes.
And we had that conversation. I thought,
Yeah.
oh, she's crazy like me. You were quite vibrant then. And I thought, oh, definitely. You know, you're not of the normal coach. I find that some of the coaches are still very corporate.
Yeah.
Whereas you, to me, your personality comes across more.
Yeah. And I think, you know, definitely like you know, like when people come and work with you, they know what you're like. They've seen you on the podcast, you know, they know that you're a bit zany, you know, and that's why they love you. That's why they want to, you know, book you to work with you. And I think, you know, people often have this misconception about what professional is.
Yes.
And, you know, I think we're so lucky now that things have developed more that you can be
a little bit of yourself.
Natural.
Yes, totally.
And people still want to work with you.
So one of the quotes on your website, unraveling strategies for maximum impact.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So one of the things that people come to see me about when they're coming for coaching or they're booked through sort of corporate coaching is they really struggle to see the wood for the trees. They're sort of stuck in, and I will also say that, you know, they're struggling to put their head above water.
Yes.
They can just see what they can see within the business, and the benefit of coming to a business strategist or a coach like myself or other coaches is that often you can't fully formulate your ideas about what is next in terms of your growth, your business, without talking it through, actually talking it through.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know, many of us are solopreneurs or, you know, founders working on their own without a team and potentially just bringing in freelancers to support here and there. But you get stuck in these problems, you get stuck in these strategy problems, and it's almost impossible to get yourself out of it without a bit of external input. And that's not necessarily them coming up with a solution for you. You know, in coaching, it's about supporting that dialogue, getting you to think wider. And I think, you know, it's that step between the sort of operational and just being busy, getting stuff done, bringing in some money, versus that step up, that sort of, you know, I always think of it sort of moving up from founder to CEO mindset.
Yes.
that it's, you know, really beneficial. And so that's why I can help to unravel those sort of strategy conundrums. And I always say for more impact, growth and revenue, so money as well.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I think people get caught up in, as they say, working on the business and not in the business. And I'm really trying to make sure for myself, and I see other people now realizing there is a switch you have to switch in your head.
Yeah.
And if you look at the American founders, creators, they are very much working in their business.
Yeah.
And I think in the UK, maybe we need to get some of that, you know, where we're working in our business, we're creating, we're believing in ourselves a lot more, and putting it out there, and also kind of like disrupting the whole genre of what you're doing. So I'm in skincare, maybe I need to kind of go out there and go bang with the skincare and do something completely different. So that's where somebody would necessarily contact somebody like yourself to go in there and say, this is your business and this is how you would take them to the next stage.
And I think, you know, that conversation, that dialogue with someone that's trained and qualified to help you see what you're not seeing. You know, one of the things I always say about, I don't know if it's a sort of sixth sense or a trained skill or a bit of both, but, you know, one of the things I'm really good at is when you're talking, I will hear that unsaid. So I can see what you're not seeing, what you're perhaps avoiding, but also, you know, what might you be missing in terms of opportunity, and sort of reading between the lines that you can't always do for yourself. But a second element to that, which we talked a bit about, the networking, is about not necessarily remaining within your sector. So stepping out. So like when you're going to your networking events, that you're mixing with people from all different sectors, and that you're getting ideas that work in their sector that you can bring in and maybe disrupt a bit your, you know, the beauty or the wellness sector. So not necessarily only looking for inspiration within your industry, you know, taking that sort of wide view.
That's such a good point, because people, you know, I again, hearing a lot of women talking and women and men talking about their businesses and their networking, and it's kind of deemed that you should stay in your lane of your business. So if you're in the genre of beauty, if you're in the genre of e-commerce, then stay in that and don't go outside. So you're saying maybe try a little bit more. And I think one of the things that people often hold themselves back from a little bit because they're worried about things not working out is experimenting and testing. You know, there's a concept with, I've been doing some programs for a client, but there's a concept called low friction ideas. So it's about testing out your ideas quickly and early, so you don't spend lots of money, lots of time investing in developing a program, for example, or a beauty offering, until you've tested it quickly, early, without too much investment. And then if the need is there and people like it and the feedback is good, then you can develop that a bit more further into a sort of further developed idea, basically. Yeah, because I've seen some of the founders talking about, you know, they went in, and I think, I don't want to, you know, go there, but I think Stephen Bartlett does a lot of that, where they test things and they try, and if they fail, they'll regroup, take that information and then move it forward onto the next thing, but use what they've learnt. Whereas we're too scared and too niche and want it to be perfect. So we're not moving forward. And I think, you know, that sort of, we get told a lot of the advice for founders is sort of niche down until you're like a final niched out is, you know, your niche. But, you know, I think that sometimes takes a bit of the fun away. It takes a bit the sort of experimentation. It takes a bit about testing and not being afraid for things to fail. You know, if you look at some of these times of, you know, when massive companies have gone for funding, you know, it might take something like 100, 1,000 times before they're successful. You know, all we see is the success. So, you know, if I could say to any founders listening, either new or established, is go out and test things. You know, don't spend too much money or time doing something. Don't fully develop a program before you've sort of pre-sold it or at least got a waiting list, because you don't know if anyone's going to buy it. Going to buy it. And your journey is truly inspirational, and you've been recognised as one of LinkedIn's top 1,000 women. How did you get that nomination and all that title? It's so good.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise actually, because I knew this list was coming out, and I thought, oh, I'll just have a look. You know, never know. I didn't put myself forward, but yeah, I was on there, and I think it was meant more to me, I think, than something that I'd applied for.
Yes.
In that there was a sort of panel that put that together, and I was recognised as one of those. You know, influential women. I show up most days, and I try and give a lot. You know, run free events and give a lot of value and advice, and sort of thought leadership, sort of just thinking, getting people to think in a different way. So just to have that recognition, I think is really
good,
lovely. Yeah,
yeah. And the other thing I noticed on your social platforms is that you don't only stick to one genre, and I'm very safe. And as you were saying, come out, so I'm going to try that now. But I'm very safe, and I stay in my niche and don't say too much. Whereas I've noticed on your platform, you might be here, there, out in the park, or you're in the studio doing something, and then you'll get, again, you're interviewing somebody. So you've got lots of different ways of bringing the information out to people, rather than it just being a set, this is how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this, you know, on a Thursday afternoon, and I'm in one place. You practice what you preach.
Yeah. And I think some people, you know, really successfully do that, where they always video from the same place. They're all talking about sort of around one topic, and that's been really successful for them, and, you know, fantastic. They're recognisable, you know, and there's definitely benefits to that. But yeah, you know, they say that, you know, touch points, something like you've got to have 7 touch points before someone will even entertain the idea of working with you, of buying. And that's something like an exposure of 45 minutes over time. So that might be like my podcast, my story, me talking on stories, videos on LinkedIn, a bit like your podcast here.
Yes.
You know, to have that amount of time from one person that can listen to anything they want, can watch anything they want, is really valuable. So I think having a nice variety, making it interesting, you know, and it being fun for me as well to make content. You know, content's everywhere.
Content's everywhere. So coming from corporate, with the corporate, it's instilling a certain amount of leadership background. You worked with large teams, I think about 100 staff.
Yeah.
How different is it to what you're doing now on your own?
Yeah.
Do you have a team that you work with? And also, you're working with senior stakeholders.
Yeah.
How different is it to now working with either one-to-one, going into corporate? This is Liz, Spark Success. What's the difference, and how did you manage that transition? Because that is a big jump.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think for me, what I love about the fact that I run my own business now is I've got the freedom and flexibility to work with who I want to on the topics that I want to, whereas I didn't necessarily have that freedom in corporate. I think corporate taught me so much. I think I've definitely got an element that sometimes founders are missing, which is that strategic overview. You know, I ran sort of multi-million pound budgets, and, you know, had a large team, and was part of a big organisation. And I think it's given me the skill to horizon scan and step above the noise a little bit within organisations, and that's something I can take back to my clients. So I work with clients from all around the world, mostly founders of small businesses, some, you know, leaders of corporates when I'm doing workshops and corporate coaching. But I think they reflect back to me that what's so valuable during our sessions of the dialogue that we have is that it got them to think a little bit differently about the situations they're facing, about opportunities often that they might be missing. So I think, you know, there's definitely loads I built from corporate. I don't know if I would ever go back there. just because, you know, as a senior leader, I was taken in to sit in meetings for like 3 hours that, you know, I didn't always need to be in for the whole 3 hours. And I definitely don't miss that. But, you know, it's taught me so much that I can now pass on to my founders and, you know, the corporate leaders that I work with now.
And do you think that the strategies that the stakeholders and the big corporate companies, do you think their strategies are different, as in the way that they run the business, as to me, a small business owner? Don't like saying small, I shouldn't say that. Me, as a business owner or a solopreneur, the strategies that the big corporates use and the stakeholders, is it different strategies, or is it similar? They just kind of tweak it a little bit, because we're thinking that we've got to do something completely different because we're solopreneurs, and I shouldn't think so big, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's disadvantages to the corporate side. Often there's strategies that are just literally on a spreadsheet, on a piece of paper, and don't end up getting fully applied into the organisation. However, on the flip side, I think small business owners are often misusing some of those things that, you know, big corporates use to their benefit. I mean, one of the things I've been doing a lot with founders recently with the horizon scanning is a PESTLE analysis, which is basically looking at things outside of your business, coming up like political, economical, social. So that's the PESTLE, and thinking about what risks that might pose to their business, but also what opportunities might that pose that they're not necessarily capitalising on at the moment. So I think there's definitely sometimes when we're corporate SKPs, which is a phrase I use for myself, we shy away from some of that corporate strategy stuff. And I think we're missing a trick sometimes in things that could really be of benefit to the business.
Yeah, because there's when you're developing your business, you're so focused on, like, as you said, the logo, the brand, getting that out there. On Tuesday, I'm going to go and see that lady. You're so busy being focused. Our mindsets may be slightly different, and also restrictive in some ways. That might be down to your personality, how you are within your business. So I'm quite I'm quite closed, and I'm starting to spread my wings. And for other business owners out there that I talk to that are spreading their wings and maybe going, as you said, internationally, or they're trying to maybe get that grant or get that premises if they've been working at home. The mindset we have here as a solopreneur, do you think words like using solopreneur keeps us, or small business owners, keeps us in that mindset of not necessarily doing what the corporates do, which is just go out there, try it, see where you go?
Yeah, potentially. I think one of the huge areas, probably about 90% of founders come to me with, as well as strategy, is visibility. So you've talked about, obviously, you're doing the podcast, you're on social media or on Instagram, sharing some lovely videos and stills from your day. But without fail, probably about 90% of the founders I work with aren't doing that enough. They're sometimes hiding behind their products, their services, a Canva image of something, and they're not getting out there and talking about why they set up the business, what problem are they trying to solve, you know, sharing a bit of behind the scenes. And, you know, that's a big piece of work that I do with them, is actually getting more confident to do that, because there's a myriad of excuses people come up with. I'm introverted, I don't like the way I look, my hair looks, or, you know, I'm not good on camera, or whatever. You know, there's all these excuses, but, you know, that's one of the biggest things you can do to be successful.
I'm learning, because I wanted to do my business as much as I could behind camera. As a makeup artist, so I want to be behind the scenes, go in, do my lady, gentleman, whoever I'm doing the makeup for, do it, and then I'm out. And I don't want anyone necessarily. I might do a little shot with the client, as you do, and stay behind the scenes. But I've realised in today's world, you can't do that anymore. You have to be out there.
Yeah.
You have to be on camera. You have to, show that I'm setting up something or I'm going on to some. People actually do want to know the personality behind the brand.
Yeah.
And I think that, yes, a lot of us are necessarily missing that trick.
Yeah.
And we need to kind of get out there. And I know the Americans do it so well.
Yeah, and everyone loves the behind the scene. I'm sure when you share pictures of this podcast, the behind the scenes, people love it. They want to see what's behind, the cameras and the chairs and everything.
I do struggle, and I still find it amazing how I could go into a store, or Sunday I was doing a bridal fair, and a lady was doing a behind the scenes of everybody that was at the bridal fair, and she came up to me afterwards, didn't know the lady, and she said to me, "Is it all right if I?" Said, "Yeah, it's fine." And she did the shot. And then she came up to me afterwards and she said, my cousin, her cousin or somebody had met me in one of the department stores. So people do like to know. And I know I'm obsessed with TikTok. And I do sit there doing this, watching how people are setting up their companies, what they're doing on their day off.
Yeah.
It is really interesting. And it gets you to trust the person, the brand.
Yeah.
So it is very interesting. And I'm pleased that you've mentioned that as part of the strategy, you do put that in there. I think it is a big point that we need to be more available.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you personal experiences. Let's have a little talk there. You dealt with loss and challenging fertility treatments, which have shaped your resilience, and you're a very strong woman.
Yeah.
How have these experiences influenced your approach to business?
Yeah.
Difficult times.
Yeah.
And taking that forward. How do you think that experience that you went through, which was traumatic.
Yeah.
How do you think that has affected your business?
Yeah.
And how you are as a person and as a leader within your corporate work?
Yeah, so, for anyone listening within the first year of my business, we lost our baby daughter, and it was just earth shattering. And I think, obviously, that in itself was just horrendous. And, anyone that's been through it, you just can't describe it. But sort of around that as well, we had many, many years of IVF. I was going through that when I was in corporate and when I was running my own business, 13 rounds. So, it's just very disruptive. You can't plan too much in advance. And I think it did perhaps stop me going big early in the business because I couldn't plan. But I think that experience has now we're sort of out the other side of that and sort of put an end to the fertility treatment and sort of decided to call halt to that. It's affected me in a positive way, weirdly, because I definitely look at life differently. I try and sort of collect moments of joy. So for us, we travel a lot and, we make no excuses. Most months we're away somewhere. And, that's all about, for me, about building experiences, and, my husband's got a grown-up daughter and we've already told her we're spending her inheritance on going abroad and going to Bali or Miami or wherever we're going to this month. But I think with my business, there's no sort of limits now. It's just, I'm just going to try things. If they don't work, it's not the end of the world. It gives me an experience. I might be able to tweak it or I might be able to learn something from it. And that. And I think, on the flip side, obviously there were many, many tough times and bad times and just times when I was hosting podcasts and I just didn't want to be there, people talking about their children or, meetings or many things. But I just think, you've got one life and it's here to live and just go for it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter.
Yes. And do you think there's enough support out there? Because there's quite a few people I've spoken to have gone through similar experiences to yourself. Do you think there's enough support?
I had enough support, I think. I think actually, I ended up having double amount of support. I had private support and sort of NHS support at one time, and it was almost a bit overwhelming.
Right.
I did called halt to the sort of NHS support. I think what's more challenging is, you can go and you can have counselling and, all of that. I think what's, for me, I've found more recently more supportive is community, community of people that are childless, not by choice, understanding that certain feelings are normal, like anger or resentment or jealousy or, whatever nasty feelings come up, which are normal human, feelings, and recognising and, also putting in place some boundaries. I sort of made, actually decided not to see some people that had just had babies, newborn babies. That for me was, very triggering. And sort of being open in communicating that. And I think people are fine. So I think sort of finding community, and there are so many amazing communities out there on Instagram, or, there's a community in the UK called Gateway Women, and there's like Childless Collective, I think they're called, on Instagram. And I think it's just about finding people that are in the same situation as you, because I'm often in a situation where people are talking about children, and I have nothing really that I can add to that conversation. It's quite isolating. So I think finding your people, even if you're not around them all the time, people you can go to, or, share, or watch something on Instagram that's helpful, I think is really valuable.
Really valuable. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's really nice. Thanks. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. What do you believe are the most critical factors when scaling a business? So taking all of your experience, your life experience, your personal experience, and your business experience, what do you think are the main critical factors when you're trying to scale a business and go on to that next level?
Yeah, I think visibility, definitely, something we talked about before, not being afraid to step out of the shadows as a founder. I think not being too protectionist about your business, about your idea. I think opening up to challenge, opening up to feedback. You don't know the best for what your client needs. Often it's your clients that need, not always, but, mostly they know what they need. They know what they're prepared to buy. And I think if you're, you sort of keep it really tight, your idea really tight to your chest, you miss out on a lot of opportunity to improve that and make it exactly what will solve your client's problems.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing I would say is horizon scanning. So not
what
just
is horizon?
So
what
I mean by horizon scanning is, not just looking at the here and now. So if imagine you're a sort of a bird's eye view looking down at your business, all you'd be looking at is today, next week, and maybe next month.
Yes.
Not necessarily planning ahead. When I'm thinking about horizon scanning, I'm thinking about, that eagle that's lifting its eyes up to the horizon and actually look what's coming up, that there's a tall tree that's coming up that might, as an eagle, I might fly into, or there's a mountain coming up that I'm going to need to fly around. So it's thinking about, far, far ahead, what is coming up and what do I need to change, or what do I need to do now to get ready for that? And that might be a risk, but that might equally be an opportunity that you might miss out on by just looking down at
I
what you're doing.
Cancer. So we're very much, this is myself, very close to the chest. Yeah. So if I'm doing anything, I like it to be organised, done. I know I'm going in on that day. I know I've spoken to those people. I know I've signed that contract before I'll even celebrate it, have the joy or anything, or even grow for the next stage.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of solopreneurs, sole traders, small business owners that stay in that.
Yeah.
And somebody like you can help us to move on and move out of that I keep saying about mindset, and it is a mindset that we're kind of stuck in, whereas we're only looking at the now and we're not looking at growing.
Yeah, and I think the benefit of working, not peddling for work, but, benefit of working with myself or another coach or another strategist is challenge. There'll be areas that you're resistant to doing, but that's going to massively catapult your business forwards. And, we will listen until you're blue in the face talking about excuses. I've heard every excuse in the book not to get visible, not to show up on social media. But you need that challenge. We all need that challenge. I need that challenge for my own business. It's like doctors and often the least healthy people.
Yes.
You can't always do that yourself. And sometimes it just needs that dialogue. If you can't afford a coach or a mentor, it might be just having some peer conversations with, a fellow business owner that you can challenge each other a little bit, because often we don't challenge ourselves enough.
And that's a good one, being held accountable.
Yes, and the accountable,
Yes, again, going back to me, I do like somebody to say to me, you need to do this by Thursday. You need to do that in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
And I think, again, a lot of business owners that I've spoken to, they'll set the challenges, but they're safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you're like, oh, I hit that.
Or I'll do that when I've done X, Y, Z. So
yes.
I think in the last week I've spoken to 3 founders, separate founders, who have said, I'm going to launch that new webinar or that new product or talk about the app when X, Y, Z. So that might be, when I've tested it out and done this. And, you're never going to launch something that's 100% perfect.
Yes.
It's always going to come up that, there's something to improve. But that's the whole point. It's sort of launch imperfectly.
Yeah,
but just get it launched.
That's a big one. Imperfect. That's a big one, because I need to know that everything is a certain way, because you don't want to fail.
Yeah.
So therefore, and you've got your book. So
yes.
your book, again, if I can get it
yes,
at you. Yeah. How to ask for a pay rise.
And get it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Your 5-step strategy to unlock your earning potential.
Yeah.
So how did you come to write the book? When did you write the book?
Yep.
And is it self-published, or how is it all?
Yeah. So, it's self-published. It was a conversation I had repeatedly with various friends, family, clients, who were all these amazing professionals who really deserved more money, but often hadn't asked for a pay rise for, never, or for 10 years, who ended up being considerably underpaid. And this is particularly prevalent with women, not only, but, statistics show that women are statistically much less likely than men to ask for a pay rise.
That surprises me.
Yeah. And, not just, but I wanted to share what I've used myself. So in my own career, multiple times I've asked for pay rises and got them, and got roles upgraded to more senior roles through sort of a structured strategy. And, rather than, I kept sharing it with different people, and I thought, there's something in this is going to help a lot of people. And I've put in there, I've taken all the work, or not almost all the work, some of the work away by providing like templates and sort of prompts and different ideas. So, I work you through the process. It's a...
Oh, yes, you even provide examples.
Yeah,
of how
examples, role playing, that you can practice it before you go and speak to your boss or whoever's the decision maker. So, it's all in one place. I've got that, but I've also created it, if you're not a reader, I've also created the same thing into an online self-paced course as well, because I fully believe that if you deserve a pay rise, you should be getting it.
Yeah.
And if it's just a point of you just don't know how, or you don't know how to put across that argument. I always talk about being a sort of courtroom lawyer, when you put across your evidence and how you talk about that. So, I put it in a book, and it's, that was last, I think I launched it sort of last summer. I wrote some of it on the plane to Italy when the inspiration took me. And yeah, it's been helping people to actually get the pay rise they deserve.
I take this one.
Yeah, one for Cheryl.
This is one I'm going to get you to sign.
Keep that
I'm
one.
going to get you to sign it as well.
Yeah.
So for those in the listeners who are unhappy in the workplace,
Yeah.
so you're growing and you're developing, you're going to step outside your comfort zone, but you're still unhappy in your workplace.
Yeah.
What steps would you suggest for them to start taking to initiate and to reevaluate what they're doing so that they can go and ask? Because it does take a lot of confidence. And if you've got to get that interview with your boss, who is always busy, or that's if you even see them, to go and get that opportunity to say, look, this is my case.
Yeah.
I feel that I am deserved of more. How what's the steps?
Yeah, I would think, the first step would be thinking about actually what that future looks like. So, projecting yourself, a few years in the future, and actually what does that look like? What does that future feel like? What are you doing in the future? Does it look like perhaps a bit more freedom and flexibility? Or does it look like you being in a particular role, for example? Not everyone can picture the exact thing that they're doing, but sometimes it's more that feeling of sort of a direction of travel towards more flexibility. So I think that getting clear on what that is, I think have a little look around what is available if you don't want to take the leap out within your organisation, but also don't limit yourself to roles that exist currently. Some of my best promotions have been roles that I've put a business case together to create that didn't exist. Some teams that didn't exist that I ended up sort of leading. So don't limit yourself, think about what's the business case? What is going to persuade that decision maker to agree to either a pay rise or to creating a new role? Some people might be, risk averse, so you can think about how you might reduce risk. Other people might be sort of very financial and looking at what savings you can create. So, put yourself in their shoes and think about exactly how you sell it to them. Because how you might want to sell something might not necessarily be the best way for them.
Right.
And then, I'd go for it. But, if all else fails, think about a plan B. So that might be looking what else is in the sector, or maybe jump into a different sector. Don't limit yourself. Obviously, if you're applying for a job in a new sector, you're going to have some transferable skills. But also women, I'm talking to you particularly here.
Hope you're listening.
Yes. Women will try and meet like almost 100% of role profile responsibilities when they're applying for a new job. And I think there's statistics around actually men will apply for a job even if it's only like 40% met. So, think about that when you have a job that you want to apply for.
And on going towards the final notes, your LinkedIn, you're huge on LinkedIn. I'm so rubbish. I'm not good on there. I like my pretty pictures.
Yeah.
I like my videos of me going into premises or going to meet a client. So the strategies for LinkedIn, for those that don't use LinkedIn, and there's still a lot of people out there that have got businesses and their businesses are doing really well and they're not on that platform.
Yeah.
Is it more B2B led, or do you think that it's more challenging if you just go out there, just do what you're going to do, or do you think there is a strategy for LinkedIn?
I think there's definitely a place for all business owners, unless maybe it's something really raunchy.
Yes,
six businesses. But I think, the old LinkedIn that you're probably thinking about where it's, very corporate, very boring, grey has gone.
Yeah.
Now it's all about LinkedIn's really pushing videos at the moment. So some of your demo, facial videos would do really well. All the behind the scenes stuff. And, being a human being and sharing about all these different things that you would share on, Instagram, are still performing really well. And I think particularly, if you're in, say, beauty and wellness or, a B2C business, there's not that many of you on there. And I would say now is the time to get on there.
Yeah.
You might be successful on Instagram, but on LinkedIn is where the decision makers are, the business owners are, the money makers and the people with the budgets. And I would say if you're not on LinkedIn, get on there now.
Get on there now.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to focus on my LinkedIn and to grow that because I'm really conscious that I am Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So and I understand that a lot of the brands that I work for are on LinkedIn, and I see some of the footage and the things that they're putting out, and they are putting out certain strategies. So that is a big one, and I'm glad that you mentioned that within our chat today. That you've mentioned that LinkedIn is really important. Yep. So on our last questions, I'm going to ask you today: personal techniques. What things do you do? Or do you put in place to protect yourself mentally and physically? Because you are on so many platforms. You're doing so many things. You're doing corporate. You're doing one-to-ones. What things does Liz put in place to protect Liz?
Yeah. So, some of my non-negotiables, I exercise first thing in the morning. My earliest class is 7:15 yoga class. I can't go earlier than that. That's my limit. Yeah. But I get it out of the way and done. And it means that it doesn't really interrupt my day. And also I know if I try and do something after work, I will tell myself the excuses. I'm human. Yeah. Why not to go to the gym? So I think that's one. I think having purposeful time away from social media. I often in the evening will physically put my phone in another room because we all know when the ad breaks are on TV or, there's a boring bit on the program, the temptation is to pick up your phone and just scroll through LinkedIn or scroll through Instagram. So I think I just try and do that forced stop.
Yes.
And I think finally I've got much better as a business owner at saying no to things that aren't in alignment with my values. Clients that when they come through, that thing that sort of you get the prickly feeling in the back of your neck and you just think, oh, no. Now I will say no. I might signpost them to some resources or some information, but the work I do is really high. I need to have really sort of positive energy with clients to work with them one-on-one. And if that person is draining my energy, that's not the right fit. So I think saying no more. I don't know, we spoke about that.
We spoke about this, didn't we? And it is difficult.
Yes.
It is very difficult. Yeah. You've got that client and yes, for your own promotion of your business and so on. So it might be nice to have that client, but you have to, as you said, look at your own company's ethos, your morals, standing, and do they align with your business? Yeah,
and I think, the final point on that is every yes that you say is a no to something else. So, it's not just yes, yes, yes. What are you missing out on by maybe accepting that client that's not in alignment with you, with the values, or that you're just not going to enjoy working with.
Well, it's been absolutely wonderful having you. So if somebody wanted to have a one-to-one to spark their personal brand, hey, I'm going to have a personal one-to-one with you later.
Oh, perfect.
If somebody wanted to spark their brand, how would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so if you're on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you will be after this session,
of course,
you can find me Liz Hamlet. You'll see my nice pink and yellow picture, like the colours I'm wearing today, if you're watching on video. And I'm on Instagram at the Liz Hamlet, and same on TikTok. And the website is sparksucceed.co.uk.
Thank you so much, Liz. It's been absolutely
amazing.
Thanks
for having me.
It's been an amazing insight because it's nice to talk to somebody that's been in the corporate, but corporate on a big level, and then bring it back to for solopreneurs and small business owners. Yeah. So it's been absolutely wonderful having you. The motivation, I'm running off now to LinkedIn. The motivation, thank you so much, and we really appreciate your time and to have you coming in today. And I've got my book and I'm going to get you to sign it.
Yeah, I will do, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed the chat.
Yeah, really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And Thank you, everyone, for listening in today. And that was Boss Woman Podcast. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing you soon. Keep sending in those questions so that when I get my guests in, we know any business questions you would like. Make sure you hit us up. We're Boss Woman Podcast on Spotify. Thank you.
Thanks.
Really good.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I be cheeky?
Go on, you want a book? Oh,
Yes!
Yeah.
Hey!
Hey.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There's so much scribbled in, I just need to make sure.
I need to get you
haven't
to
scribbled
sign.
in it. Yeah.
Can we do a picture of you signing my book?
Yeah, I'll sign it. You want me to sign it? Yes!
That was really good.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. That was probably my most natural podcast, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you
It
for
does
having me.
work with the
I managed
question.
not to cry as well. That
Yes.
was good, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
No, but I think we talk about it in terms. You asked it in a really nice way about like
Thank you.
impact. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because I always think, oh gosh, I'm going to
No,
ask.
but you
somebody-
asked. You were very good. Like asked about like boundaries and what you're
Yes.
open. So yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have put it in there if I hadn't have wanted
Yeah.
to. I have to judge it on the day. Some days I can
Because some
talk
people,
and-
exactly,
yeah.
because some people will say, oh, I don't mind talking about that.
Oh, and then
And
God.
on the day they're thinking, do you know what, I don't want to talk about
you
it.
were really good. I think that's a good thing if they've shared something that's quite personal. I think
Yeah.
it's a good to sort of check in about
Yeah.
how they are on the day because
Yeah.
every day's
Every day's
different.
different.
Oh, I just noticed my collar's been folded in for the whole podcast. Oh well.
I get
well.
home and I look at things, I think, oh, you didn't
I think
do
my
that.
hair's been covering it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me get
That
a
was
pen.
amazing. Let me
Ah!
get a pen and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
That was amazing. Loved it.
Oh.
And then what I'm thinking of doing over Christmas,
Oh, yeah.
I haven't even told Caleb yet, is doing a podcast with about 4 people for Christmas
Oh yes.
and
Sounds
doing a
fun.
Christmas podcast of different sectors, and we have a
Yeah,
like a round
panel.
yes,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
that
round
sounds
table
good.
kind of thing. So I've got to book that in.
What do you want me to write in your book?
Oh!
Go get the pay rise you deserve.
Yeah.
Pay yourself the pay rise you deserve.
Do you know what? Somebody said to me, no, I don't pay myself so bad.
Yeah.
I think I pay myself in perfumes.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Oh, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. That's what I said. I love it in here. And being in a studio, and I know people have been asking me to do online, like a Zoom podcast.
Oh no, I think it's better in the studio.
I think it's better in the studio, but I think occasionally I could throw throw 1 or 2 in there because I've got Dr. Anita wants me to interview her, and we don't know if we can get her here. So that would be
yeah.
because she's in Harley Street and she's there all the time. Bless her.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a good one to do as a. But I would like to get her in the studio because she's fabulous on camera, like yourself. You're very good on camera, my darling.
I've had a lot of practice.
Yeah. I didn't even touch on the guest speaking.
Oh no, that's all right.
We'll have to get you back. We'll get you back.
Yeah, I'll come back. Go and get.
But we must. Yes, I've got to book a date in for that. I'd like to do a Christmas one, and we have drinks.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
She plied me full of her glass.
I gave her a glass. We had a glass of wine before we came. But I'd like to do one, an evening one, either 2 women, 2 men, and we sit and do a nice.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
That's for
Caleb.
you.
Yes, I want to put it up here.
Oh,
So
lovely. Thanks.
A lot of my clients, when they come in, they always check out the book collection. So
Yeah,
let's get
excellent.
it.
There
in a
you go.
prominent place.
I'm going to take a picture of that so
I'm
I
going to
can.
take a picture of that as well. Woo, it's on the shelf.
Caleb, that was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
just do what you got to do.
Yep.
Edit it, and just do it. That'd be lovely. I think it's time.
Yes. 100%.
That's
200%.
That is the
100%.
painful bit, not doing the recording and chatting. The painful bit is editing.
Editing it.
Getting it
And you know what's good to go out there. So just if you can just do it, that'd be lovely.
Right, let's get one of you and me. shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a little selfie. I'll get my
I'll get
phone.
one of you in with us as well afterwards. Whoop.
Yeah, wicked. Right. Let me put that down.
Tell me when I can share these.
Oh, you can share this
Oh, we
today.
can,
You can
okay,
share this
yeah.
today. That's too cute. You take good pictures. It's
And,
the camera.
And
on
that
your
trick
phone.
I taught you with the
I
the
know.
torch. I know you feel like you got something in your face, but
So let's see. Studio lights. Hey. Oh, I like your one now.
I'll send you it. I'll
Send
you
it to me. And then I'm going to post that today.
Imagine.
Smash.
And then what was the other one I wanted you? I wanted one.
You want to come in a photo?
Yes.
Do you want
Yeah.
your kit in the background?
Where do you want to do
Or
it?
do you want to come here? Yeah, let's just.
Let's do this.
Do we get the chairs in the background? Right, you go in the middle, tall.
Oh, I'm in the middle? Okay.
Yeah, go
So,
for it.
okay.
Right, and you?
So
That's not the middle. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, look at
Oh,
that.
that's cute.
We're ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wicked.
lovely.
Okay.
Right. Now, when did you set up your studio?
January is when we.
And now I need to interview you.
Yes, you
Please.
do.
Why not? I've
Need
got
to-
my podcast at 9 o'clock myself.
Have you
Yeah.
tonight?
What's your podcast?
My stuff is mainly religion,
Oh, yeah.
philosophy, history, culture,
Oh my god.
Nice.
loads of interviews, presentations,
Wow.
and debates on my channel,
Oh wow. What's
Yeah.
it called?
Titans TV
Titans TV. On YouTube.
on YouTube. So I've restarted again.
Yeah. I've just given up on my podcast after 85 episodes.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still.
That's why I
Yeah.
said she's on the.
That's consistency.
Yeah.
I know. I run
That's
out of
why
steam a
it's-
little bit. So.
I think
I just given myself a break. It's still there.
I've checked. I think I've got about 800 videos on my channel.
Oh,
it's,
wow.
it's not all podcasts, but
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I think I did enough.
Yeah.
I did enough.
You've got to start repurposing it now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the.
It's over 10 years worth of content. On
Rather
it.
than doing it
Wow.
new every time.
Yeah.
Are these, I love these little,
I love it all.
you can get a mini one for doing online presentation stuff it's much smaller than that.
Oh.
That's literally what I've got at home.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's excellent. I definitely recommend it.
So the one you're doing tonight, is it just you, or are you talking to camera?
It's me, but it's a debate.
Yeah.
So I'm inviting guests on to actually do a debate.
Ah.
So it's going to be very
So
interesting.
is that online?
Online?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're in a studio, are